All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Creators Live. Yet another Wednesday Creators Live. If you are new here, welcome. We do these every single Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And the entire purpose of the next 55 minutes is to give you actionable coaching that you can take back to your shops, your print operations, whatever, and apply so that you can level up your free jet DTG game. Okay. We do these every single week as just a service to you. We just want to add value as a customer of Omniprint. We care. We want to see you win. We want to see you succeed. And as you succeed, we will succeed. And it's just one big happy family. Okay. We're going to go through coaching for the next 25 minutes with my man Edsel here. Just as a reminder, though, if you are new, after the coaching session, we are going to do a live Q&A. Okay. So that means that whatever you're learning here today, if you've got questions, comments, whatever, you can bring those live to the table and I'm going to patch you right in. All you got to do is click the little raise hand button at the bottom of your screen and you'll be able to jump right in. Also, how's everybody doing today? How's everybody doing today? Can you show me some chat love? Jump in the chat. Let me know how you're doing. Are we doing good? Are we doing bad? Are we doing okay? Let me know where we're at. Come on, let's get some energy flowing here. Awesome, wonderful. Good day today, Trudy, and I love that. Thomas, I'm gonna not read that comment, but that's awesome. All right, well, I'm glad you guys are here, and I'm looking forward to spending some time with you. So, but before we do, I want to introduce you to my man Edsel. In case you don't know, Edsel is a senior industrial technician here at Omniprint. And Edsel, why don't you just unpack what you do for the business here?
First of all, the cheetah, the development with that, with the R&D, work with a lot of the guys that are helping develop that equipment. I've been training pretty much all the techs that have been started recently. A little bit of everything. I'm a tech guru for the machine. I've been doing DTG for 12 years now. As I told you in the last video, I have the machine myself, so I do all this and, I go through a lot of the same stuff you guys are going through. And hopefully I can pass some of that knowledge to you guys and make everything a little bit easier.
Love that. Thank you. And so today's topic for everybody joining is we're going to be talking about how to optimize your art files so that you can get the absolute best possible print out of whether you're using the TX, the TX Plus, a Cheetah, whatever. Edsel, why would you say this topic is important for everybody on this call today?
Graphics, it's, what we're printing, it's what we're doing. So, you want to make sure you have the best graphic. You want to be able to look out for certain things. You want to be able to avoid certain things. So today I'll kind of cover a little bit of everything from file types, DPIs, vectors, some sites, you can get some artwork from, and, that can help, a couple of things like that, even a couple of Photoshop tricks. So we'll link into Photoshop and I'll show you a couple of things we can do to boost up some colors, and really make sometimes those prints just come more to life.
Awesome. Love that. So this is going to be jam-packed with information, good information. So if you've got a notepad, get it open. If you're taking notes in Google Docs, whatever you're doing in order to retain information, because again, you could show up, but unless we're retaining information and then putting it in and then applying it in our shops, it does us no good, right? So we're going to go through the coaching. I want you guys to retain the information, write it down, type it up on a Google Doc. And Edsel, let's just go get in on it.
All right, let me share my screen here real quick.
If you guys have questions are good. Questions are natural. Either put them in the Q&A box at the bottom, but then also keep them for the end too. We're going to do a live Q&A, 20, 25 minutes or so.
So here's the RIP. A couple of things. First, people ask me, what type of files can the machine, the RIP take? This is actually a pretty easy one. It'll show you as soon as you hit file open in this little window here. I actually show you all the little file types that it'll accept. I'd say most of these you probably don't use or we don't use anymore. Some of these files, DMP files, DIV, GIF files, those type of files we're not really going to be using. But it does give you the full list here. Now, the ones that are going to be the most common are going to be a JPEG. The JPEG works good for a white shirt. You have to remember a JPEG will always have a white background. So if you're printing on a white shirt, that's fine. But for a dark shirt, if you try to use that JPEG, it'll print a huge white square. So just kind of keep that in mind. PNG is the one that I'd say I use 100% of the time. It works the best, small file type. It's also good to save your transparencies. You always want everything transparent, like in this image here, no background. That little checkerboard, anytime it displays that, that means it's transparent. PNG files will save that type of data. Photoshop files, PSD files. For those of you that use Photoshop, this is a file that Photoshop pretty much spits out. Works good as well. I've used that plenty of times. A Photoshop file also saves your layers. And for those of you that do hard work in Photoshop or Illustrator, you'll know you'll be working with various layers. A Photoshop file will save all those layers, so you can go back later on and edit those. So, and then the last one's a PSD file you definitely will never using. A TIFF file I sometimes use. It's very similar to a PNG file, but it'll actually save your layers as well. So sometimes if you want to save those layers when you're in Photoshop, you have multiple layers, in here, and you don't want to lose all this, information you have. You're able to just save it as a TIFF, and it saves, a lot of those files in there. So those are the file types. The main ones are going to be Jpeg works for a white shirt. PNG works for both white shirts and dark shirts. So I usually just stick to PNG or a Photoshop file. And Photoshop files work good. PSD file. Those are the best ones that we're going to be using. And now all of those are raster image files. So no actual vector file. People ask, can we use a PDF? PDF technically is a vector file. We can't. You can upload a PDF file onto this. Same thing with Illustrator files, EPS files. Anything that comes out of Illustrator will, that type of file type will not work in the RIP. So all of those have to be saved into either a PNG or a JPEG, whichever one you want to be using. But it's good to have those files. Those are actually original files that you want to keep that let you edit, the image. So it's good to have, these vector files because technically it's the original file. Then you have technically a PNG file of that file, which we'll use to print. So not bad to have, those Illustrator files. If you guys hire vector artists, if you guys hire any artist, they're doing vector work, they'll send you a vector file. I mean, that's what you want. You want that vector file because it has all the extra stuff in there that allows you to edit it correctly. Then later on, you can flatten it yourself. So, but in the here, I just stick with a PNG. That works the best. And much easier and a smaller file to process, quicker overall there. Another thing we'll go over here is the DPI. People will ask me, what's the DPI? Sometimes I do hear people just blow the DPI up a little bit too high. First, in the RIP, it'll actually show you what your DPI of your image is. If you don't have Photoshop, you don't have any graphics program, once you load the image in, you can just right click on it and then go to image info. Once you go in there, little box pops up. It gives you the size, and you'll see right here it says DPI. So 299, which is basically 300 DPI, is what you usually want to keep them at. 300 DPI is also what I tell customers is kind of the max. You can have an image that's 600 DPI, 1000 DPI, but the truth is, this type of detail you'll never really be able to print on a piece of fabric. And you'll also make, when you have DPIs that are that high, your image file is going to be much bigger. It's going to take longer to load onto your RIP. It's going to take longer to print, process all that information. So, don't have to go too overkill with the DPI. 300 is, more than enough to get you, a nice crisp print. Again, we're not printing a huge billboard. We're not printing a huge poster. So there's no need to, make a really, really huge file as far as the DPI. So 300 is about what I do. And I'd say anything under 250, around there, you may start to see some pixelation. Like a lot of the times people will either go to Google, they'll get images from Facebook, whatever, all these type of websites, they compress these images. They don't want to load this huge image. So you lose a lot of resolution. A lot of the times that you go in there and just download from there, you more than likely are not downloading a high res, image. So, but at least in the RIP, you'll be able to check that and know what the actual DPI of the image is. So don't be afraid to, go in there and check it all the time. If things start to look a little bit spotty or pixelated, you can go in there and check the actual DPI in here. If you have Photoshop, you're also able to do that in Photoshop. For those of you, they've used Photoshop before, image size, and it'll give you the actual DPI, the size in inches, and everything in here. So always check that. You always want to check it. I always make that a requirement whenever I ask customers to send me an image. You want it 300 DPI, but sometimes you'll always get those low res images. So people just don't understand the graphics, so they'll just send you anything. It looks good on their phone, it looks good on their computer, so they assume that's gonna look good when you print it. So always check it. Make sure you check it. Again, don't go too high. I don't think anything more than 300 DPI is necessary. So always keep it around 300, and you'll have a good image. Same thing when you request artwork from any designer. You want to make sure you give those specs, 300 DPI, I need a certain size, etc. So always keep a lot of this in mind in order for you to have real good quality image on this. So here's even an example of what that looks like. Your DPI, really crisp, circle, 72. You start to see those edges, really picture. This is basically where you'll find anytime you Google anything. 72 DPI. If you try to print it really large, things start to get fuzzy, things start to get blurry. And if it's anything less, it's even worse. That's when you start to see that choppiness. So keep an eye out for that. A lot of the stuff you get online from Google will be 72 DPI. You will lose a lot of that detail in there as well. So keep an eye on that one. And then sometimes you'll ask, what can we do if the customer gives you, this type of image, a 72 DPI image. Sometimes it happens. A customer, I've had this plenty of times. They send me this image and they say, "Here's the image." I tell them, "Hey, it doesn't look good." They tell you that's all they have, and then you kind of just are stuck trying to figure out what you can do to make it better. There are certain things online that will help you, vectorize these type of images and spit out, a higher res, image for you to print. One of the things that I use, and I've been using this for a while now, is this little quick software. And I actually ended up buying it, as a desktop download. But it basically put an image in here, a very basic, a vector image, and it scans it and it redraws it for you, and then it spits out a high quality, image. So sometimes, and I use this on the fly, this happens a lot, sometimes customers don't have the original file. This is all they have. And, you try to make it work. One of the things that I do is I run it through this little software. So this is actually called Vector Magic. It's a good little software. I'm pretty sure some of you guys may have heard of it. I think there's even various other, vectorizing softwares online. This is really the one that I've used kind of on a pinch. Works, pretty well. And I think it's something that you guys, may want to look into. But, if you notice, it's very basic designs. If you notice, it's very basic shapes, very basic logos. It's not going to grab a photograph that's, 2 inches and find the detail for you. It works for very simple and very easy design. And I'll show you, this is called Vector Magic. It's a Vector Magic program here. You see here that I use. So it's a good little software. Like I said, in a pinch, I've been able to vectorize an image just by clicking on it, and then it goes through right away, and I avoid having to ask the customer for a better one, and who knows if he has it, and who knows when he'll get back to me. When I know it's something very easy that I can just throw in this software and I just boom click it, send it over, it's able to vectorize it for me and give me a good little image in there. If you have Adobe Illustrator actually has a similar feature. It's on there, but it's called Trace. And it's very basically the same concept. So if you already have Illustrator, you can bring a similar image like this in there. The feature on there is called Trace, and it basically does the same thing. It'll trace it. Again, it's very good for very basic images like this. Like I said, nothing too complex. If you notice, they're basic shapes, but you'll notice a lot of these logos you may be working with are like this. So it's a good little tool. I like doing this. I like getting it in there. I do have it. it's helped me a lot in a pinch. And like I said, there's other ones I just haven't really used. Some of those alternative ones, but this one works great. I've been using it for years, and it helps me, in a pinch. Another one I'm pretty sure you guys have heard of is Fiverr. This is basically a lot of people. I'm sure you guys have heard of this website. People hire designers, people hire artists. So if ever you have these guys will vectorize an image for you pretty quickly and sometimes cheap. So if you do have something or artwork you need to get work done, you are able to just bring it into ask Fiverr somebody to help you out here. Lots of projects, and I've used plenty of this in the past, and I've seen a lot of this. This one gets shared a lot in the DTG community. So if you haven't checked it out yet, check these guys out. A lot of good stuff in here, that'll help you out. And let's see what else we got in here. And then another thing that someone had asked me for is searching images on Google, which is usually what I don't advise. Google, you'll very rarely find really high quality image out of your Google Images searches. So, but if you are looking for some on there, let's just say I looked at some earlier. Let's just say Michael Jordan. Yeah. Whenever I search for these images, anything random really, one of the settings that actually Google has up here at the very top in the toolbar, you'll see it says tools, and then you have an option for sizes. And you can actually select to just only show you large size, images on here. So whenever you do large, it does only show you the biggest images, the highest quality, images that there is. So if you have to, find, images on here, grab things from here, at least try to find yourself, make it a little bit easier and try to find a larger, higher quality image. Rather than finding the smallest 2-inch image and then trying to blow it up all the way. So this is kind of one of the ways, if I have to look for something, if I look for an image or photo, one of the ways that I know I can find decent large images is using this large option. So again, that's just under tools. You'll see when you search an image, there's a tool section. And then there's a size section. You can just set it to only to show large, images there. So again, nothing you'll get out of here will be higher than I think 70 to 100 DPI. But the larger image that you have, the better really quality you're gonna have a little bit out of it. So it's larger image with the lower DPI, you can still get a decent print. But you can't have a small image with a low DPI and then try to blow it up. It's just not going to work. So this is kind of one of the ways I'll do it to find at least some decent images on here, is making sure that I'm only searching for large images rather than. You'll notice when you go into large, there's less options. That's because not a lot of people upload high quality, high res images to the websites. Things, a lot of times they're compressed. So you'll notice when you go to the large section, you have a lot less choices because not too many high quality images are uploaded on there. So that's one way. If you have to find something there, you're able to find some decent images on there. Besides that, there's a couple of websites I've used in the past to either find vector images. Some of them are free. One that I use, and hopefully you guys can still see my screen. T-shirt Factory. It has cool little vector designs on there. Definitely, one that I like to check out every once in a while and see what kind of designs they have. But, a lot of different stuff in here. Be able to go through it. Just vector images, vector designs they sell. I think you can even request them as PNGs, right away. So you can get them downloaded directly, as a PNG ready to print. Great Dane Graphics, another one that I think a lot of the DTG industry has been using for a long time. It's a good little website, has a lot of good designs. So you're able to kind of go in there and pick them out. It is subscription based, so you do have to pay for some plans for that stuff. Good designs. This is a free one, Vecteezy. So this is a vector site. If ever you're looking for certain vectors, they offer free ones, and then the free ones you can pay, but you're able to look up anything here, whatever type of image you want to look up, then some are free. You can just filter it by free and it'll just show us all the free images. And again, all of these are free, so I can download these and start messing with the image, add it to another image. So a lot of good, good stuff, good resources you can use to create, help others. Sometimes you'll notice people want to, create design. They start going in here, start putting things together, and then you have a nice design out of it because you use nice images from the beginning. So start with some good stuff. You get the best print, nice crisp print out of it. So these are some good resources. I just kind of wanted to show you guys. Again, the software, so I use Vector Magic. If you already have Illustrator, again, it has a feature in Illustrator built in that'll actually help you do the same thing. And again, that feature is called Trace in Illustrator. I use websites again. I'm sure you guys heard of them. Fiverr. This is the other one I like to use. T-shirt Factory. Again, a lot of good, good designs in there. The vector one we just spoke about, Vecteezy. There's a lot of these free vector websites. Go on there. If you're downloading a vector image, it'll probably be an EPS file, an Illustrator file, so you will need Adobe Illustrator, to be able to open some of these. So just kind of keep that in mind. But those are some of the resources I kind of wanted to share with you, and then go over a couple of some quick Photoshop tips. So hopefully you guys can see my Photoshop there. Somebody asked RGB or CMYK. It's RGB. Again, we usually recommend RGB on this. If you're saving as a PNG file, a PNG is always an RGB file. So if you save it as a PNG, you're kind of covering both items there. You got a nice file, PNG file, and it's always going to be RGB. So one thing I want to talk about here is this image here. Sometimes I hear customers, they say that they design in Photoshop, and what they use is the actual plan size. So the actual plan size is 12.5 by 18, right? So then you open up an image like this. People start placing their image in here into this 12.5 by 18. And once they drop it in here, they start positioning it, maybe somewhere, in the middle. And let me remove my background here. And what most customers do is they'll just stop here and then they save it. And one of the mistakes that's being done here is all of this negative space that you're leaving on the image. So one of the things you always want to look out for is all this negative space. You don't want none of this extra space. Right now, the actual image I have in here is maybe, 10 by, I want to say it's like a 10 by 11, right? But if I just place it in the middle and I don't delete all this extra space, the rip's still going to think my image is 12.5 by 18, and you'll notice in your rip, those numbers will be placed in your QRIP. So you always want to make sure you actually trim all of this down and avoid having all of this negative space. This happens a lot of times. So we'll go to image. One of the things you can do is image, trim. And this basically just trims the edges and brings your whole canvas down to just the image. And this is exactly how you want to save it, how you want to load it. Now you got rid of all that extra stuff. You got rid of all the extra, blank canvas that you had in there. Again, if you save that blank canvas and you bring it into the rip, it'll read all that. Even though my image was placed in the middle, it's just able to, read the whole entire thing. So always trim it down. Always trim them down. It'll help out with size, because if you bring in a huge image that's not cropped, the rip will think it's a 12.5 by 18, image. And then when you try to, let's say I only wanted 10 inches, it's going to take into account the whole thing as a 10-inch, image, not just your image in the center. So always make sure you crop all that down, and then you can avoid issues when you're trying to resize it in the rip. Now, if you're filling up the whole entire thing, then it doesn't matter. Obviously at that point you got your design edge to edge all the way through. But always just remember to cut that down. It's going to mess with the sizing, and it's also going to mess with the margin. Imagine here if I load this into the rip, I just created myself a 2-3 inch margin right here. And then if I type in 2 inches in the rip, it's going to be 2 inches plus this huge gap that I have right here. So always trim image. It's not wrong to start with a 12.5, by 18 canvas size. It's completely fine to start with that. Just once you're done designing, go to image, trim, and then boom, trim that guy down. And now you're able to save it. You bring it in. You'll have no issues with margins. You'll have no issues with your sizing there as well. All right, real quick, we'll go over some little tricks we can do to try to make this guy a little bit brighter. Now it looks bright already. To me, it looks pretty good, but you can definitely make them pop a little bit more. So let's go in here to my layers, go to image, adjust. So there's a couple of options you can do here once you're in Photoshop. Image adjust to really, brighten this guy up, saturate it more, and I'll kind of go one by one. Brightness and contrast. You can start brightening this guy up a little bit, make some of those, the contrast, darken up those darker areas, give them a little bit more depth into it. Maybe I want this green a little bit more saturated. Again, I'll go back to image, adjustments. You have quite a few options. Let's go to hue and saturation. So we'll go to hue and saturation. Right now I have it in the master mode, which kind of affects everything. If you just wanted to affect the greens, you would just select the greens, different little options here. So I'll kind of affect all of it, and I'm gonna go to saturation, just start to move it up. See how that green, now as originally it was kind of muted down. Now if I start bumping this up, I start to get that really strong lime green. Now this snake is popping a little bit more. So let's go back in here. Color balance, you're able to kind of change the color balance if you want to add a little bit more into it. I usually don't really want to mess with the color balance. Levels, you can mess with the levels a little bit here. Basically darks, your midtones, and then your highlights. So you're able to kind of darken up a couple of things there, brighten them up, highlights a little bit more there. You don't want to darken just that bit. So you start playing around with it, you start to get a much brighter image here. Let me just actually change my background to black, since I would be printing this, I guess, on a black shirt. And I'll go back to the original. That's how it looked like before and then after. So we do, you see quite a difference, in the green. You start to make it pop a little bit more, and it helps, give you print a little bit more of a punch, to it. Sometimes it's necessary, to go in there. Sometimes, it's not. Customers sometimes will give you a bad graphic, and sometimes these little tricks will help just bring it to life a little bit more. Give you a better print overall rather than printing the original bad, graphic they gave you. So this one originally was a good graphic, anyways. But as you start to play with it, you're able to really change some of the things around, and make some of these colors start to pop. So again, all these options are under image, adjustment. You have your brightness, you have your levels. Hue and saturation is a good one if you just want to punch in, some of the colors in there overall. Again, saturation level will start to bring it up. If you just want to do the reds, if you just want to do yellows, you can just select those yellows, bring them down, bring them up. So don't play. It's good to play around with it. Don't make adjustments too crazy, because then you might really start to change the image a lot. Of course, you can always go back, not have to do it, but you can see how it used to look like there, to it now. So, and a good bright image is really going to give you a nice bright print. So you always want to make sure, if you're able to catch it beforehand, bring it in here, do these little changes, make it pop a little bit more, and then you can just bring it in after. So for me, from doing it for so many years, I've had customers bring me graphics. Just by looking at them, I'll be like, okay, I need to make an adjustment, before I even start printing. I think that's it for me, Ryan. If you want to.
All right. All right.
Good stuff in there.
Yeah, absolutely. First off, I want to hear what everybody thought about that, because I mean, we went pretty deep, right? I mean, this is detailed information that every FreeJet operator needs to know, or every DTG operator needs to know, generally speaking, to optimize that file, to make sure that you've got the best possible art environment, to get the best prints. So, can I get like a thumbs up or something from everybody in the chat? Blow the chat up real quick and let us know what you thought. Angela said very helpful. All right, good stuff. Trudy Ann's pumped. Terrence Carolina says, we always come with what he was thinking to ask us. Great info. Love that. Tyler says helpful. I'm starting to see some money bags in there. All right, good stuff. So, Edsel, I think we delivered today, bro. I think we delivered what the team wanted here, which is great. So we're going to go into some Q&A here for the next, 15 minutes. Get you guys some live engagement. So if y'all got questions, click the little raise hand button at the bottom, and let's make sure to tag you in. I'm going to start with Lava Mama Clothing Co. Go ahead and unmute yourself, and you'll be live.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so new at this stuff. I've had my machine about a year, but and then business went down, so I really haven't learned a lot,
Sure.
I'm over here in Hawaii, so I'm in the middle of the ocean.
All right. Well, wow. What island are you on?
I'm on the Big Island. So hey, look, if you ever want to come here, I have a vacation rental.
I'm in. Drop the link in the comments. Let's see what that looks like. I could use some of that in my life.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm new at Corel. I'm in at Adobe Photoshop. I don't know a whole lot about artwork because I'm an embroiderer. I have a 6-head machine, and I have a retail store down in Kona now. I finally got a storefront now that the rent is being reasonable after being shut down for a year. So I got a guy that I know in Arizona that's going to be helping me with some artwork. He's coming over here and he's going to be staying at my place for free, and you could too. So anyway, I need all the help I can as far as learning how to do things. And I was out of white ink, so I've got it coming in that your solution that you use on the machine.
Pretreatment?
The clear stuff, it looks like Windex, that stuff.
Super
cleaner.
cleaner.
Pretreatment or cleaner?
Yeah, super cleaner.
Yeah, I can't run my machine because I'm out of it, and you know what it's like getting stuff here. It's a nightmare.
Hey, well, why don't you email me and we will help make sure that you get that to your shop wherever you need it.
Well, I got it. I'm in a garage right now, so I keep the printer here because the retail store is a lot of tropical wear.
Sure.
And so where's your email at?
I will put it in the comments for you in the chat, and you can just drop me an email. We'll get you taken. But do you have a question regarding the art files?
I'm learning. That's all I've got to say. It's a big learning curve for me, and I'm 71 years old, but I'm still working.
We'll love having you.
That's good.
If you still want to learn, if you want to learn, just be here every week, because we're going to continue to bring you value and knowledge and education on the entire printing process in our products. So be here every week. I'm super happy you're here with us today. And send me an email. I'll shoot you my email here in the comment section.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Of course. Talk soon. All right. Next up, we are going to Terrence. Terrence, what's up, man? I'm loving that picture. What are you doing?
I tell you, my son is switching my thing.
Nice. What's his name?
His name Nas. He always messing with my computer.
Nas, man. Love having you.
Yeah. I got a question. I just ordered the plans with the zipper, and I was trying to see if there's information on how to really use it.
I believe the text can be able to help you, but basically, and I'll kind of explain, I guess, what For those of you that don't know what he's referring to, we have a zipper platen that's specially designed for zipper hoodies. As you know, that zipper goes down the middle and kind of gets in the way. So one of the things is down the center, you basically have like a double-sided tape that helps you, push that guy down. And that center part is actually dipped lower to just pretty much make the zipper fall perfectly even. It will take a little bit of practice, that's the first thing I'll say, is get a zipper hoodie, learn how to, tuck it in real good. In fact, when I would even encourage you to call tech so that way they can, kind of walk you through setting it up. I had a couple of the guys ask me about it recently. I kind of gave them some, quick instructions, but the most important part there is just, mounting it. Mounting it on there is making sure things are nice and flat. Especially the zipper part. When you're dealing with zippers, also to make sure you use metal zippers. I've had, unfortunately, plastic zippers that I've heat pressed and then just melt together. So that's one thing that I'd say look out for. When you're dealing with zipper hoodies, make sure it's not a plastic zipper on there. So, but it will take a little bit of practice to get it down. Practice mounting it. That's the biggest one. But call tech, that way they can kind of walk you through. Or say anything, I think they have instructions, quick little step by step on how to use it. But it's basically the same size as your youth plan. It's just designed a little bit differently to make that zipper fall the center.
Good, thank you.
All right, Terrence. Hey, man, love having you here. I know you've been here the past several times, so appreciate you coming back.
Good afternoon.
What's up, man?
I've been on every lesson, and I have to say they're fantastic. I really
Awesome.
do learn a lot, and the explanations are very, very clear. But the one thing I have a problem with is the pre-treat. I mean, I print beautifully, and when they come off the printer, they're gorgeous. But they wash out like after 2 washes, and I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I'm using the Omniprint pre-treat formula. But I don't know. Some people are saying they're getting 15 or 20 washes out of it, but I'm not. So what am I doing wrong?
Usually with washer results, it's either going to be, as far as the pre-treat application, as long as you don't pretty much dump a, huge amount of pre-treat, then, that really won't be that much of an issue. If you're putting a huge thick layer, what's happening is basically you have the shirt, and then a thick layer of pre-treat, and then your ink. And because of that thick layer, that ink never really reaches the shirt to bond. Even though, if you dump even the whole gallon to the shirt, you'll get a great print. You won't really make that ink really cure onto the actual fabric. So that's one with the pre-treat. As long as you're not dumping a ridiculous amount, then that may not be an issue. The other thing that can affect it is the cure. Make sure the temperatures at the correct heat, temperature for that. 320 for anything you're using white ink on, 90 seconds twice. For dark shirts, 90 seconds once. For a white shirt, 220 is usually what we stick around for polyester. Same time, 90 seconds for darks, 90 seconds once for your light. So those are important. Make sure you have your right temperatures. Make sure you have the right time. The heat press, not a lot of issues can come from the heat press. If you suspect the heat press has an issue, sometimes heat presses can have cold spot, hot spots. Where maybe only one side is heating up and the other side's not heating up all the way. You don't really see that, too often, especially if you have one of our Hotronics. That's basically the top of the line heat press you can have. Those things usually don't fail. But sometimes, if you are questioning that, one of the things we'll do is we have a laser thermometer. You can go buy these on Amazon. You can buy these low at Home Depot or something, and it basically will just read out, your heat press. And I check mine every once in a while. I always check it, even though it's always good. But I always check mine at home. We'll make sure everything's good. Quality of the shirt, is another thing that will affect it. Make sure you're using a good shirt. Not all the shirts will wash, exactly the same. Some will tear the fabrics a little bit more than others. So, make sure you have a nice quality shirt. that also go a long way. Washing, instructions. I've washed mine at home. Sometimes the complete opposite. It works just fine, but we always give you guys, those instructions to make it last the longest. To get those 50 washes inside out. Cold water, a slow tumble dry, all that stuff. Will make the shirt last even longer. Or last the full 50 washes. So I'll send you I'll post my email here on the chat. If you have photos of the results you're getting, send it to me. Let me kind of check it out, because from those photos I'll be able to tell maybe what we have to tweak. If we have to adjust anything, and see what we have to do. So
Okay,
but you should be able to resolve that one, fairly quickly.
Well, I had 2 contracts, which were a plumbing company, and I was very happy to get the contracts, but they returned all the shirts, and there were like 20 shirts because they faded. So I redid the whole batch of them again, and again they faded. So
what inks are you using, Ricardo?
I'm sorry.
Which inks are you using? Are you using the direct ink, the DuPonts, or the Gamuts?
I'm using the Gamut ink.
Okay, so do us a favor, send Edsel a picture of the bottle that you're using as well with the batch number on it, and then we're going to take a look at that. But just any photos or videos or any of that nature, just send that in so we can review it for you.
Yeah, send
okay.
it over, and then I can definitely check that out and give you some more info on that.
I appreciate it. And another thing is I just bought a new batch of inks, and they're right at the expiry date. Does that matter how far beyond the expiry date you go?
I mean, if you bought them recent, I guess it shouldn't be. I mean, make sure, I guess, it's not a bottling date, I guess, that you're seeing. But I mean, if you bought them recently from us, I mean, it shouldn't be more than a month or two older, I think. I mean, same thing with that. I mean, if it seems like it's an older one, send me a photo of it. I sent you my email there, so then I'll check it out.
Okay, I buy them from Stalls because I live up in the Niagara Falls, Canada.
I see.
And so it's very expensive to buy it from you guys to ship it. Anyway, do you recommend hovering on? I have the Hotronics heat press as well. Do you recommend the hovering technique?
Yeah, I mean, that works good for to kind of. It's basically like flash drying, the shirt for a second. I'll do it sometimes, especially when I have images that are just really big and loaded up with ink. Hovering it, your heat press 2-3 inches, above the print, letting it kind of warm up and dry, and like kind of pre-cook the ink for a couple seconds. It works, too. And I even sometimes do that with my pre-treated shirts. If you find that you're clamping them down and it's kind of burning and staining them, hovering it for a good, 15-20 seconds first, kind of heats it up, gets rid of some of that excess. And then after that, you can start clamping it down and really avoid getting some of that burning. But yeah, hovering is a good technique. You can't hover to cure the ink all the way through. That just won't, work. But it's a good little technique to help, pre-cook it a little bit before, clamping it all the way down.
Okay. Once again, just thanks very much for all the energy you guys are putting into this. My best to Ruben and Victor. They've been exceptional with me. And I love you guys. You guys are really, really good at what you do.
Thank you, Ricardo.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. Follow up with us on the ink deal. All right.
Yeah,
I will.
All
Thanks.
right. Moving to our next one here. We got time for one more, 2 more total, because we're running up to the wire here. So it's me, Maine. You're ready to go.
Could you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. Once again, just thank you guys. I've been missing these things. I've been receiving the text messages. First question. You guys do this every week, right?
Every week, same time.
Okay, great. Now, as far as the images, have you had any or heard any issues with the creators about the Google images? Because I've, just been around, I've heard about like copyright infringement issues.
Oh, yeah.
So is there a site where you think like, we won't have that issue, like the t-shirt maker site where the creators are actually making it? Like, do you have any more resources for those, like specifically for images?
I guess, yeah, you're right. I mean, that's what kind of one of the things that I say, I don't like getting things off of Google, images like that. Yeah, a lot of that stuff will be copyrighted. It's already on somebody's website, and stuff. So yeah, I mean, I guess as far as it just really depends what you're kind of looking for. If regular photographs, stuff like that, Shutterstock, any like stock image. I mean, if you just Google stock photos, stock anything like that, you'll get all those that pop up. As far as vectors, I guess it just depends what you're looking for, because every website is a little bit different. Some of the stuff that I print on my shirts, for some of these other websites, their artwork just doesn't fit, what I do. A lot of that stuff, it's sometimes it's kind of like a niche. It just depends what you're looking for. If you're looking for something more corporate, corporate artwork, things like that, then there's specific, websites, I guess, that'll show more of that. If you're looking for more of, streetwear and stuff like that, then, there's like different things that, that'll be in there. So I guess that's one thing that I noticed whenever I was looking for graphics is I was always looking for, stuff that was fitting, what I was doing, my niche. So sometimes it was a little bit difficult to just try to find a website that concentrates on just, something that, I mostly do. Custom designs, check that Fiverr website. See, sometimes it's easier to just get a custom design done for some artwork, and kind of go about it that way instead of, I guess, trying to find pre-made things. So sometimes you can search and not find what you really want, what you're looking for your design. Sometimes it is just better to hire a designer, that can
Okay. So
various things that can, as far as cost for that too, Fiverr has some cheap stuff, or you can hire some crazy designers are charging you $300, $400, for just one design. So it really depends, but I'd always, some of the ones that I suggested, they are good. Any vector site that you look up, nowadays before there used to be a lot of the free ones, but even a lot of those free ones now are selling, artwork that's not copyrighted or anything like that. So if you get it from a reputable site, which is really, if you're worrying about copyright infringement, things like that, just get it from a reputable site, or have create your own design. Have some designer bring your idea to life, and then that way you don't have to worry about if things are copyrighted, things are not. It happens a lot. Sometimes people do get in trouble. I can tell you for it. I've been in the industry for a long time. Whether it's a small little thing they do or not, it's definitely something you want to look out for. So everyone be careful with what you're printing. Sometimes people are watching. You may get some nasty letters from customers.
All right.
Of some of these design websites maybe that I like to go through, and then I'll try to post. I said posted my email there, so just shoot me an email. Just say, hey, send me that list of some of those websites, and what I'll do is I'll just make a quick email with all the lists, and then you guys can check out some of those websites that I like to use myself.
I gotta disengage from you here. We're gonna get to the next one, and we're running out of time. Colorbound, I'm gonna hit you, and then we're gonna go ahead and bring this to a wrap. So let's do a real quick question. That way we can respect everybody's time.
Hi, how are you?
Good, you?
Good. It's really been helpful information. I've been attending every week and every day new information. Yes. Anyway, I did message you, I think, on Messenger, and a few days ago, I had a few questions that I really need the answer, and which was an underbase issue. It just is not pumping. Underbase is not really laying down wide, and I don't know if it was the design. And I was trying to, email you so we'll be ready for today's discussion. But I can still email you maybe after we finish here. And so I have really, it's everything is looks good. It just underbase is not really pumping out.
Okay. Send me, send me the, I guess I have to look at your print to see, it's on there. But I think this is one thing that I think maybe a lot of people are always trying to achieve is that solid white base. And I always tell customers, don't overthink the whole process. For one, you need to have good pre-treat application. That's basically the first step. If that's not applied right, it doesn't matter how much ink you lay down on that shirt. You're just not going to get that good white base. That's basically the start of it. It's kind of like when I always tell customers when I'm training, the text. It's sort of like when a painter, a car painter, will always say this, where it's like 80% prep and 20% paint. And the prep work is what's the most important. To start to get that good white base. So pre-treatment, make sure you have a nice even layer. A good shirt. If you have a nicer ring spun shirt, it will make the whole process easier. It'll make the pre-treatment part easier. It'll make printing part easier. So get yourself a nice shirt, good pre-treatment. Startup of your machine. The whiting settles. It will settle. It will separate. But then your ink lines. If you don't prime the machines, if you don't circulate it, you're going to be printing, settled, watered down white ink. Same thing with that. It doesn't matter how much of that watered down white ink you spray into it. It's just never going to be, white. So make sure you start up your machine good, which means, prime those whites. If you have a regular TX, you have to shake up your bottles and prime it. Make sure the white is mixed up. And then, of course, make sure your nozzles are good. As long as all those nozzles are there, you should be able to get a nice white base. But, if any of those combos along the way there are not done right, you're not going to get a good white base, whether it's pre-treat, whether it's not firing up your machine good or not having your nozzles. All of that stuff has to come together to give you that nice, perfect underbase. Because sometimes people's answers are add more white ink, add more white ink. In the last video we did, I showed you guys how to add more white ink to it. To me, I think it's a bigger problem if you're having to add that much white ink to it. So pre-treat, quality of the shirt, proper start up your machine. Make sure you prime it, make sure you get those white inks, mixed up. You have to get those white inks mixed up so that way when it's pumping, it's just pumping pure white, out of it. And then once you get a nice white base, you'll see the colors on top, those reds, those blues, those yellows, boom, are going to start to pop. If that base underneath isn't good, those colors that go on top are just not going to be good either. So pre-treat shirt, check, your white ink, make sure that guy's pumping good. But send me a photo of the result, just by looking at the photo there. I'll be able to tell you.
I will. Just, everything that you said is, nozzle checker is 100%. T-shirt I use is quality and pre-treat is good. It just maybe what I'm assuming is just maybe the design, even though the design, they shouldn't affect underbase. So that's what my, concern is. So I'll shoot you an email, both
send me an email.
Pictures. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, Asphalt. We'll see you next week. Okay, guys, we're gonna start closing this down here. But before we do, I've got a couple of things for you. Can everybody just tell me if they want to start saving some money on ink? Right? And it's kind of a loaded question, right? Does everybody want to start saving some money on ink? Because if we do, I've got a solution for you. If you are purchasing inks or pre-treatments or cleaners once a month, once a week, once every other week, once a month, once every other month, and you're doing that consistently, we have a subscribe and save option to where if you just sign up to have your inks and cleaners and pre-treatments automatically delivered for you on your own convenient schedule, you're going to save 10% on every single shipment. Okay. That is not available anywhere else. So not only do we already have excellent prices on our inks and pre-treatments and cleaners, but I want to give you guys an extra 10% off. It's a no-brainer if you're already buying stuff once a week, once every other week, once a month, once every other month. All you got to do is just sign it and let it go automatically. You're going to get 10% off of every delivery. That means if you're spending $2,000 a month on these supplies, just by having them delivered on your schedule, you're going to save $200. What could you do with $200, an extra $200 in your pocket for your operation? I can think of a few things here personally. So I don't have a specific link. Just go to the site. It's store.omniprintonline.com. look at whatever ink you want or that you need for your machine, whether it's Gamut Plus or the DuPonts. Click the subscribe and save option. And all you gotta do is set up, you choose your delivery frequency, how much you want, and then you're just gonna save 10% on every delivery. So it's a great deal. It's a no-brainer. Like, you don't have to use Post-it notes anymore. You don't have to remind yourself by writing on a little whiteboard. Anyways, I loved having you guys here. Last reminder, Saturday, April 10th, we are doing our spring Creators Business Boot Camp, which is going to be absolute fire. We have Jesse Edsel coming in as a keynote. And I don't know if you may or may not know who Jesse Edsel is. The dude is an absolute legend. Look him up, Google his name, and you'll see. He just spoke at the Growth Con with Grant Cardone and his team out in Miami this last week, and he crushed it. He's a billionaire entrepreneur, sold his last business, Marquee Jets. His wife is, I forget her name, but she's the CEO and founder of Spanx, which is a massive $1 billion women's fashion line. Anyway, he's going to be coming and hanging out with us for an hour. Go to creators.omniprintonline.com/2021. Mauricio, can you post, or Edsel or whoever, can you post a link to that in the chat? Go there, sign up. We're gonna have several thousand people joining us. Like, there's no reason that you shouldn't be there. If you can't be there in person with us live, you can join by phone and listen to the whole thing. We're going to be giving you completely a free value. It's free to attend. But if you want live Q&A to the keynotes, like Jesse, if you want live Q&A with Tim Story, who's another mega superstar keynote speaker. If you want live Q&A, just upgrade to the VIP experience in the flow. So again, go to creators.omniprintonline.com/2021. Get registered. We're going to have several thousand people there. We're actually even going to be giving away a $35,000 free jet package that day too. Like, it's going to be banging, folks. Like, we're going to be there. I'm going to be out in California in studio. It's going to be 6 hours of pure energy. Like, we're going to leave it all out on the field, and it's going to be a hell of a time. So, look, today was amazing. Edsel, thank you, sir, for delivering value again. We loved having you. And I know you're a busy man, so you're adding value to our tribe here, and we just appreciate it. So, again, everybody, have a great week. Call us if you need anything. Email me, email Edsel. Hit us up in the Facebook group. And if we don't talk to you, just hope you guys stay busy. Keep printing. Talk soon.